Hi all, welcome to the day 7 session on API testing by Testology. The agenda for today is basically to talk about how to attach a JSON file in an API request body in Postman, data-driven API requests using Postman, data-driven assertions on API response through Postman. Okay. So basically, the data-driven part we will discuss today about Postman. Okay, so basically, yesterday um, we have spoke about the variables in Postman, right? So we have seen what is a variable. Variable is a container. You can see this is a variable that I am pointing here. I can give it a better color. Okay, so this is a variable, right? The variable name is full name and the value is Ravi Shastri, right? So variables can be used in Postman as containers where the values will keep on changing. We can pass the dynamic values through the variables in the API request. Okay, so let's say I want to create 10 users on a particular website, but I have the API access, so I will send the user creation request through an API, right? So I'm using Postman currently. I have these servers. Okay, I will send the request to the server. Server will create the data, create the resource in the database. Okay, so how am I going to do that? If I'll do the manual request way, right? I am basically sending manual request. I mean, one by one, I am creating 10 records. Okay, 10 user records on the server. So it will be manual task, right? But I want to do it in a data driven manner. So what should happen? Basically, let me paint it separately, right? Let's create a fresh paint. So I have Postman access. I have this server. I have this database, right? And basically the Postman will send the request. Now, one by one, I can manually hit the send request button. Okay. And through the post API, I can create the data on the server. Fine. But I want to do it in an automated manner and simply through some external CSV file also. Okay. So I'll have this CSV file here. Okay. There will be some records. Okay. Present here. And one by one, what I want, the Postman should take the records from this CSV file. Okay, and send the new data one by one to the server. Okay, in an automated manner. So we have seen how to run the Postman collection yesterday. So we will utilize yesterday's knowledge today. Okay, so basically what will happen, the CSV file will have some heading, right? So let's say I want to use a different username, okay, in every post API request that I'm sending through Postman to the server. Okay, so this is my Postman and this is the server. This is database. Right here I have user. Fine, this is my username, but I also want to test that the request that I'm sending should get response from the server with a 201 response code. Okay, the response code that should come from the server should be 201. So for now, let's send the usernames. So let's say this is Ravi Shastri. Fine, the first username. Next would be MS Dhoni, right? We will talk about the testing part later. Let's first send the data in a dynamic manner. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to achieve this? We can simply go to Postman. Okay, I have this like request body. Now, one manual way that I just spoke about, I mean, we can also attach a request body through an external file. Okay, so how we can send completely an external file. So I can put this payload, what we call this JSON is a payload. Okay, so JSON file can also be called as a payload, the JSON request body. Okay, what I'll do, I'll go to this txt notepad. Okay, so I'll create a new one. I will paste here this JSON payload. I am first sending it manually. Then we will talk about the dynamic data. Okay, we will talk about this part in a couple of seconds. First, let's try to send manually one payload, that is JSON file. So I'll say save as. Okay, I'll save this file as a user data.json. Fine, and I will store this as all types. So let's do the manual part. Okay, this is my user data.json. Fine, job is leader and name is Ravi Shastri. So which API I am using? I am using this REQRES websites post API, that is create user record. Okay, so this API. So you can see the payload here. This is the API path, and the response that will come from the server is 201, and this is the response data. Okay, so now I have copied this payload. Okay, I have just changed the values and stored in this user data.json. Let's try to send a binary file. Fine, so this binary option here, the radio button that you can see, the orange one. So I have selected binary option. I will select a file now, and I am at the location where I have stored that user data.json. So you guys can see the user data.json. It's created today, 23rd November 2022. I'll select this. I will open this. Fine. So you guys will be able to see now that user underscore data.json is attached to this request. Okay. Now one thing that we should do, we should send the header content type application slash JSON. Okay, that is important, so that the server will understand what type of data we are sending with this user underscore data.json. So let's send this. Okay, so you guys see the data that we have sent through this file is successfully uploaded on the server. The user is created, Ravi and Ravi space Shastri. So now if I change the name here, Sachin, right, and I save this. Okay, the file is saved in my notepad++. Okay, let's try to send this again. So guys, you can see the Sachin Shastri is now printed on my response that is coming from the server. Fine. So this file that I attached once using this binary option in the Postman is now being sent. So you can send the JSON directly by this raw option. Okay. Otherwise, you can select the binary option here. Okay. So we have completed this part, that is how to attach JSON file in API request body in Postman. Now coming to the part where we want to send the dynamic data. Okay, username should be changing with the records stored in the CSV file. Okay, so this is my CSV file. I'll show you this. Okay, let's open the CSV file that we want to send. Okay, so my CSV file is this user data dot JSON. Not JSON, it's a CSV. So user data dot CSV. Fine. So guys, note these variable names. Basically, the variable name here is name and response code. It is very important to note, because the header name, actually this is the header name, I should not call his variable name in the CSV file. The header, the heading here, name and the response code, the two columns that we have, these heading names are going to be the variables in Postman. Okay, I'll show you how. So we will access the value from these columns, that is Ravi Shastri, Sachin Tendulkar, MS Dhoni, Rahul Dravid, and Virendra Sehwag. So we are going to access these value using the name variable in Postman. So this column name here, the column heading will become the variable name in Postman. Okay. So now, how are we going to access the value? So first of all, we will only send the dynamic data. Okay, we will not perform the assertions related to response code. We will just pick up the values from this name column. Okay, so we will dynamically populate these values in the Postman request body. Okay, the API request body. So I will remove this binary file now, that is user underscore data.json file. I will remove this. I will select the raw option. Okay. Now, what I am going to do, I mentioned that the column heading is going to become the variable name. So I will just say name here. Fine. I have this name here, and now it's in orange skin color. Okay. So now this name will change. So basically, first it will be Ravi Shastri, then Sachin Tendulkar, then MS Dhoni, Rahul Dravid, and Virendra Sehwag. So we are also expecting that 5 times this request should be sent. Okay, so the new user request, that is this one, this API, that is the post API, we are going to hit hit the server 5 times. Why? Because we have 5 records here, right? We have 1 2 3 4 5. So 5 times different user names should be mentioned in this payload, and the 5 requests should go to server. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, I have saved this by using the save button. This is my API call. Okay, and I will now go to practice collection. So this is my collection. I have these 3 dots. Okay, the 3 dots are there. I will select the run collection option. Fine, it's very simple. Deselect all requests, select the only request that you want to send to the server. So how many iterations? You guys can see this iteration option. Iteration means repetition. Okay, how many iterations? It means how many times you are going to perform a particular set of actions. Okay, so one iteration can contain multiple actions, but the set of those multiple actions will be performed again and again if you update the iteration to 2. So 2 times a set of actions will be performed, that is this API request, and whatever actions are related to this API request will be performed twice. Now if I make it 3, then it will be thrice, then I make it 4, so it will be 4 times. So 4 times this API request will be sent to the server. So I will not do any changes here. Why? I'll tell you. So now iterations are done. Do you want to add some delay? No, I don't want to add some delay. It's like sometimes what happens, a very critical API. Okay, you are making a post API call. It's a heavy call. Okay, apart from get and head options, and you can say put also, the heavy call, that is, put, let's say put and post are heavier calls. The load on the database, the server, will be high when you will send a post request or a put request up. Like on the other hand, except get, so basically when you will send a get request, the load on the server and the you know and the database will be less. uh, there will be low load. Okay, the higher load or heavier load request will be post and put, or we can also say delete will be having a less load. But you can just think of, because what happens in these two requests, you are creating some new data on the server. Okay, you are creating some new data in the database. So performing the creation of data will have some validations, right? The checks on the username, the checks on the job, right, that we are sending. So basically system will be checking this data, right? Is it valid or not? So validity checks will be performed. Fine. So that kind of load happens when you send the post or put request to the server Fine. So running the collection now, deselect everything, select only post request. Now select the CSV file. So you have this select file option. Okay. Select the CSV file by clicking on this and just say all files. Okay. Then select the user details .csv. Okay. This is my CSV file. Open. Fine. What has been done here? The iterations are now updated to 5. Okay, the iterations here are now updated to 5. So what Postman has done, Postman has read this data and Postman has ignored the first line, because Postman considers the first line, that is heading line, as the variable names through which the data will be fetched. Okay, so name is a variable. Okay, and the variable value of name will be having value uh, Ravi Shastri, Sachin Tendulkar. So that is why these are 5 records, and that is why we have the 5 number here, 5 repetitions, 5 times this post request will be sent to server with different data. Fine. A lot of talking now. Okay, so let's run this practice collection. Okay, so I will run the practice collection now. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so you have no tests in this request, and 201 created, 201 created, 201 created. So 5 requests are sent. Iteration 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Fine. So 5 times the data was sent. Now let's see what data was sent. So you have this console option here, right? Console option you guys can see, and at the left side bottom, click on console. Fine, you click on console. These are the last 5 requests at the bottom. So start from bottom, 1, 2, 3. So it's like the requests list is there. So the last 5 requests were related to the last execution that we have done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this will be my first request, this one. So I will click on this. So I have clicked here. Now you guys can see that request body. Okay, the console will have the logs about the actions you have performed. Request body, first request body contains Ravi Shastri. Next, let's go to next. So I will close this. Fine. The second request body contains Sachin Tendulkar. Fine. Let's see the next. The third request, the request body contains MS Dhoni. Fine. Next, we have the request body here. The fourth request, I am just checking now. The fourth request contains Rahul Dravid. Okay, so let's see in the CSV file. The fourth request contained Rahul Dravid. Okay, so now this way you send the data dynamically in your post request body. Okay, read the data from CSV file. The postman will do it for you. Okay, how? Just go to the collection, I mean run collection option here by clicking on this 3 dots, run collection, select the file. Okay, and while selecting the files you may not be able to see the CSV file here, so click here, select all files, then select the file you want to upload. So user details, fine, open this file. Now the iterations will be updated. Okay, as per the data present here. Guys, don't give any space or anything that creates an error. Make the file positive looking. Okay, don't add like this. Okay, don't do like this. I mean, this is like playing around Postman, so don't do that. The file should be consistent because it's your test data, right? So I have uh, fine, I'll just say don't save, and I will select only that request that I want to perform. Okay, post request and 5 iterations. Let's run this. Now if I add delay, then you guys will be able to see some delay. So it's milliseconds. I can add 2000. So after every 2 seconds, okay, 2000 millisecond means 2 seconds. Okay, so basically after every 2 seconds this request will be sent. So at least 10 seconds will be taken to complete the execution of this collection. Okay, so if I run this now, okay, so if you see 58, okay, 59, now the time that is being taken, at least 10 seconds were taken this time. Okay, so view summary. Now the collection execution is completed. The duration that was taken for execution of these requests is 14 seconds, 593 milliseconds. Okay, so this is how the delay works. I hope you got the point how you can upload a .json or a CSV file and send the data to the server in a data driven manner. Okay, thank you. Let's have some question and answers, and then we will talk about data driven assertions. Okay.